love the Olympics. I think I love them more every time they come around, especially the summer games. And I don't think basketball is necessarily the biggest Olympic sport, but it can never avoid being interesting. These are the big personalities, the pressure on the American teams to throw things together and figure out how to play against teams that know how to play together under different rules. It is always fascinating, even more fascinating when you actually have a player on the men's team. Give us your thoughts, John, on Anthony Edwards' Olympic experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, first of all, just from a big picture perspective, I think that this was the best men's Olympic tournament in Olympic history, at least since the pros have been playing in 92. Just with the competitiveness, with the twists and turns of the games, with how things ended up in the gold medal game and Steph Curry going nuclear and kind of just the pageantry that is involved with that. And so for Anthony Edwards to be a part of it and really to have a real role on the floor with this team was, I think, enormously important for his development as a rising star in this league. When you look at, not only did he get a gold medal in a highly competitive environment, so really, Jim, this was kind of like the first win for Anthony Edwards on the court in a meaningful way. I mean, he has not obviously won a championship in the NBA. They didn't do much competitively at Georgia in his 1 year in college, and so here he got to experience winning at a high level for the first time. That's great. But also, I just think it was clear that the proximity that he had to greatness in this in this tournament was something that you just cannot put a price tag on. He was right there front and center with Steph Curry, with LeBron James, with Kevin Durant, with three of the three figureheads of this NBA era. Those three guys, they belong, on the first three spots of Mount Rushmore for when you're talking this generation of NBA player. And Ant was right there with them, got to see them every day, got to see them go about their business and how they lifted their games in the most important times. And so just from an overall, soaking it up kind of perspective, I don't think you could have asked for anything more for Anthony Edwards in this thing.
He's Jon Krawczynski. This is the Jon Krawczynski Show, part of TalkNorth.com. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. I want to thank our many sponsors: Princeton Liquors, True Vision Institute, TSR Injury Law, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. We also want to ask you to please subscribe if you like the show, or if you like any of our other many shows across the network. We've added Randy Shaver on high school football, which is his great passion, to go with John Malay's prep show. We have Russo and Kevin Gorg on two different hockey shows. We have Malay on preps, Jeff Diamond on football. Jon Krawczynski and I do a Viking show called the Viking Update Show. We have so many shows, I always forget some of them. Also have Chin Music with Roy Smalley and Lavelle E. Neal, which is an absolute blast, especially with the Twins in contention. Thanks to everybody who listens. We do appreciate it. You mentioned this a bit. I think the fact that Anthony Edwards was playing with and around Steve Kerr, Mark Few, Eric Spoelstra, Ty Lue, LeBron James. I mean, this is Steph Curry. This is a veteran group. People, every conversation he could have learned from.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that one thing that we have noticed in covering Anthony Edwards, and when you talk to Chris Finch and all the coaching staff, Tim Connolly, both, here with the Timberwolves, about sort of some of Anthony Edwards' defining characteristics. I think one of the most telling kind of facets of his overall player persona is that he's incredibly coachable. Whether he was a rookie learning from Ricky Rubio or Patrick Beverly or Mike Conley or Chris Finch or Pablo Prigioni or Chris Hines or any number of people that he has come into contact with in his NBA career, it is clear that he is one of these young guys that wants to learn and that knows what he does not know. as brash as he is, for as confident as he is in his own abilities, which that part of it is off the charts, there is still a humility about him in terms of understanding that he does not have all the answers to the tests yet. And he always is picking the brains of the veterans around him. And so if there were any concerns about anybody being in that position and kind of, not really maximizing that opportunity to watch and learn and ask questions, some young guys just don't want to let on that kind of stuff. Ant is not one of those guys. He absolutely is someone who is going to not only seek these guys out and ask them questions about, what it takes to win, about what they do in their regular routines, anything like that. He's also a sponge in just watching and observing and learning from these guys, just in terms of just watching them go about their daily business. And the most encouraging thing, I think, for Timberwolves fans is that Ant got to be a part of this group and got to see all three of those guys, Steph, LeBron, KD, hit their heights of their playing ability. Maybe it wasn't for the entire games like LeBron used to do, or like KD used to do, or Steph used to do, but in the biggest moments when they needed to come through, it was those three guys saying, give me the ball and I'm going to show you how to do this. And I can guarantee you that Ant was kind of looking at that and watching it and soaking it up. And I think that he will take an enormous kind of lesson away from this in seeing what it takes and how to go about becoming not just elite, but becoming legendary. And that's what those three guys are. And so I think that, Ant is going to absolutely really benefit from everything that he saw, everything that he observed, and everything that he did on the court. He was not a Jason Tatum or a Tyrese Halliburton who didn't play at all. He was playing in these games. His role kind of got reduced a little bit later in the tournament, but that's okay. He was still a hugely important part of what they did. And he clearly, I think, has respect of those guys. And so that's the next step for him. And if you're a Wolves fan thinking, how could he take his game to another level? Exactly what happened in Paris. Him, kind of having the front row seat and really seeing how these guys do their thing, I think will be just enormous for his development.
And you and I both covered Summer Olympics, and we became accustomed to going and saying, okay, we're going to cover a bunch of Lynx people and no Timberwolves people.
Yeah.
At the time, I covered Tom Thibodeau as an assistant coach to Mike Krzyzewski, which is the closest thing we had to this. Having one of our players being provincial about Minnesota, it really heightens the viewing experience.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I think that what I will say that in my 20 seasons covering this team, I caught the tail end of Garnett before he was traded. And then when he came back, obviously, Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio, some of the other kind of, even Cat and Wiggins and Levine and Jimmy Butler, and a lot of stars who have come through here. They were all set. Many of them had really good connections to this fan base, had really, kind of had the ability to generate excitement, and to get people to buy in to what they're believing. But I think that Anthony Edwards is a cut above all of those guys in terms of the belief that he injects into this fan base, this organization, all of it. And so when he is out there with this group, which may have been the best Olympic team ever assembled, it's them or 1992, and I don't really want to have that debate, but certainly the team that went on the best Olympic run, with all of the competition they faced, with everything. I don't think there's any disputing that this was the hardest path an Olympic men's team has had to gold, and they went and did it. But Ant was a critical part of that. He had a big game against Puerto Rico. He was, for much of the tournament, he was leading the team in scoring, even though he was coming off of the bench. And so he had a clearly defined role, and a clearly important one, and one that is expected to evolve into headliner status as soon as 2028. I think that any projection about what this team will be going forward, when presumably LeBron and Steph and KD are not playing 4 years from now, it's who is going to take this thing over. Right now, Anthony Edwards is the number one candidate to do that. And that is wholly unique in the Timberwolves fan viewing experience. They have never had this kind of player that way. Garnett was iconic. Garnett, was one of the top 20, maybe 25 players in the league's history. And just enormously successful, incredibly compelling, did everything that he could for the organization, and had the massive respect of the fans. But then Ant is positioned, he hasn't done it yet, but is positioned to go a little bit above that, to be the guy that's like, if you have Anthony Edwards, you have a chance to go deep in the playoffs every single year. You have someone who is going to be leading the American Olympic team when he goes back there. That is, I think, a validation that fans have not had here for a very long time, if ever. And so, yeah, I do think it changes the Olympic experience when you have a dog in the hunt, the way that Ant is and will be for the foreseeable future for this American team. It's a pretty cool thing for Wolves fans to be able to say.
No doubt about it. There is also some intrigue with other athletes, Timberwolves athletes at the Olympics. But we do want to let you know we are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services. We want to thank Aquarius Home Services. And John, tell us about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton and the Princeton family have been in business doing this for a very, very long time. We're talking decades upon decades. Really, his family goes back in the booze slinging business for almost 100 years with what's going on. And what happens with that? You build tradition, you build trust, and you build just a great, great family run business. So go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Their specialties, craft beer selection, one of the best in the state, if not the region. So you can get all kinds of the highest quality craft beer, and unique selections that you may not be able to find anywhere else. Bourbon is a huge specialty and a huge focus for them. So if you're looking for, I know a lot of people this time of year, you might, get up to the cabin, get up with your friends, have a little bourbon tasting contest, go into Princeton's Liquors, and you can find a unique brand of bourbon that will probably win you a competition. So go in there for that. They also have THC seltzers and gummies now that those things are legal. So really just an unbelievable selection of anything you could want beverage wise in terms of adult beverages. And go into Princeton's Liquors because they have been affiliated with this community for years and years and years. Bill Princeton wore the Crunch costume in 2001 as an intern for the Timberwolves and Lynx. He's been directly connected to the franchises that we cover for a long time. So support the people that support us. Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove.
Yes, thanks to Princeton's Liquors. And thanks for our longest running sponsor, TSR Injury Law. As Steve Terry always says, call them now. You'll thank them later. 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. Naz Reid. If you're injured, they will help you. They will not charge you unless they win your case. They win a lot of cases. 612-TSR-TIME. All right. Rudy Gobert wound up having a more intriguing Olympics than we would have hoped, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly all last season when we would talk to Rudy, just kind of about Paris, about these games, about his emotion and his excitement for it. I mean, it certainly was off the charts. Like, he really viewed both this opportunity and this French team as the chance to really have one of the crowning moments that you can have as a professional basketball player. He went into this tournament expecting to have a major role on a team that could win the gold medal. And he was essentially half right then in that estimation. He played on the team that played incredibly well in that gold medal game. They were really, really good. They just didn't have the superhuman flamethrower that Steph Curry was, and didn't have Kevin Durant for, some of those tough shots that he hit down the stretch. They were hyper competitive. They were right in it. And they fell just a little bit short. So there's no shame in getting a silver medal against that American team. That said, I'm sure Rudy was disappointed, A, that it was a silver and not a gold, and B, that his role in the team was certainly reduced over the course of the tournament. That when he played a bigger role with this team earlier on in the tournament, they couldn't really find their groove with Victor Wembanyama, with him, with Yabusele, with kind of everything that they had going on, in part because they didn't really have the guard play to organize the offense the way that a Mike Conley does in Minnesota with Cat and Rudy. And so you saw them really kind of struggling to find their identity, to figure things out. As it goes on and as they get into the medal round, the French coach pulls Rudy back in his minutes, reduces them a lot, and then the team looks better when they're playing smaller with Yabusele and Lasort in the front court. They're a little more offensively versatile. They just fit better in the puzzle around Wembanyama, and France looked really good and played really well to get to the gold medal game. I thought, Jim, that the French team looked actually at its best when Rudy was playing in the gold medal game. Yeah. I thought he played really well. But I think that they just kind of stayed committed to playing small and being competitive that way and doing what they could. And in the end, they almost won. So I can't argue with any of the decisions that were made. That said, I think that I'm sure Rudy was proud to get silver. I'm sure he was happy with that part of it. But I think if you were to give him truth serum and actually have him talk about his experience, he would say probably that he wished and hoped that he played a bigger role in that run to that medal, and envisioned in his mind being a more central figure than he ended up being in the medal round for France.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get some other Timberwolves figures at the Olympics. But first, tell us about your vision these days.
Yeah, I'm seeing very clearly now, Jim. And it's funny, I had LASIK now. We're going on 2 weeks ago. And there are still moments that where I kind of reach to my face and kind of try to fiddle with my glasses, or if I'm going to get a little bit of, just kind of rub my eye or something, I'll dip my finger like I'm dipping it under the lens of my glasses, and my glasses aren't there. For the first time since I was in fourth grade, I went to Chew Vision Institute in Bloomington, and the people down there really did change my life. And this is not hyperbole. This is an absolute truth to the matter of, I went in earlier in the summer, actually while the Timberwolves were still in the playoffs, and I went through their extensive vetting and kind of evaluation process for my vision to get it corrected. We did have real one-on-one, heart-to-heart conversations about what the best course was for me, and decided on LASIK surgery. After the playoffs, after a few things all summer long, I was able to get in and have the surgery. And ever since then, it has been an unbelievable experience. Like, not having to put on glasses in the morning. I went swimming with my kids this week. Didn't have to worry about either contacts in the pool and getting all gummied up, or having my glasses on while I was in the pool. I can just jump in the pool and see clearly and really enjoy it and not have to worry about any of that. And so really having LASIK surgery has been a life-changing experience, and I can't thank the people at Chew Vision enough, and can't recommend them highly enough for how they handled it. Dr. Chew is super calming and with a very kind of nerve-wracking process. If you're a little nervous about the surgery itself, it only takes like 7 minutes total to finish, but He is taking you all the way through it. He's making you feel at ease. I was very, very comfortable with it. The recovery is quick. And once you're fully recovered from it, I haven't looked back. I feel like this is the way what I should have done 10, 15 years ago. So go to chewvision.com, Chew Vision Institute in Bloomington. The people there are wonderful. Dr. Chew is great. And really, this surgery has changed the way that I live my life. And it's a fantastic thing. And so if you go, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you. chewvision.com.
Another company you're very fond of, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
sglambchops.com is the place to go for some of the most stylish, comfortable casual wear. We're talking sweatpants, we're talking shorts, we're talking t-shirts and hoodies and hats. They are a local company. If you go to sglambchops.com and put in the promo code JONK20, you get 20% off your purchase at sglambchops.com. You will see Timberwolves players wearing this stuff. You will see just people around town in some of the trendier areas wearing it. And it's not super expensive. It is super high quality goods that are great. Jordan, Craig, you see them at courtside at Timberwolves and Lynx games, supporting the local teams. You will see Lamb Chops kind of posted up in different pop-up areas throughout the community, really engaging and being a part of the fabric of the Twin Cities, pardon the pun. But go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get there. Best shorts I've ever worn, most comfortable hoodies, everything that you can get. Super fun. You will not regret it. sglambchops.com, JONK20 for 20% off.
The temps may be rising, but that means it's a summer meltdown of savings. Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Stay cool and comfy with up to $3,000 off a new cooling and heating system. Plus, enjoy a free whole home air purification system with qualifying purchase. A new worry-free AC starts with a free in-home consultation during the Aquarius Meltdown of Savings sale going on now through July. Scheduled today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
So what do you think the performance of the other Timberwolves who were in the Olympics?
Yeah, it was kind of underwhelming, to be honest, Jim. Joe Ingles did not play much at all for Australia in the Olympics. I think that, that's probably a good thing for the Wolves. I'm sure that they didn't want to see him out there at his age, playing a ton of minutes, and potentially opening himself up to injuries. But he's going to play, I think, a real role with the Timberwolves next season. And so if you wanted to see how he was looking after kind of playing, 17, 18 minutes a game for the Orlando Magic, if you wanted to see a little more from it, we just didn't get to see any. And I don't think he was dealing with any injuries. I just think that there wasn't a real opportunity for him to play for Australia. So watching to see what kind of shape he comes into camp in, how ready he is to assume a role and what exactly that looks like. I think that just kind of seeing that he did not play very much in this tournament makes me wonder if there's even a little bit more of a reduced role in the NBA waiting for him. And if it's going to be a little bit more of, a combination of people filling in for Kyle Anderson. We understand that he wasn't going to take all of Kyle's minutes, and just kind of plug in and play him in the Kyle Anderson spot. You're going to have to probably get Naz Reid some more minutes. You're going to have to get maybe Terrence Shannon or Minot or somebody some minutes as well in that spot. But Ingles just didn't do much at all in the Olympics. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was the other one for Canada, had some moments, but the Canadian team was a little bit disappointing in not medaling in this tournament. And I was talking to a few people about it while watching them play, and I thought that Nickeil could have played a little bit more. I thought that he could have given them a little bit more perimeter defense. I think that he could have helped them a little bit more than maybe they let him do in their tournament run. And so I think that Nikhil's another one where probably expected to have a little more team success and to have a little bit more of an individual contribution than he did for Canada. So again, a silver lining, he did not have any exposure to injury. He's going to come into camp fully healthy. Those are good things for him, and he's going to be a very important part of this Timberwolves rotation. But I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more from Nikhil, just in terms of involvement and minutes and all those things for Canada than we ended up seeing.
Yes, and congratulations to Cheryl Reeve and Nafisa Collier for winning gold in Paris as well. Dawn Mitchell and I regularly talk about the Lynx on the Dawn Mitchell show. Check that out. She always has great interviews, and we talk a lot about women's sports. We also talk a lot about the Vikings and men's sports because it's a well-rounded show. Check that out as well at talknorth.com. For today, John, give us a final thought. I know we're going to talk more about the schedule next week, but any highlights you want to offer right now?
Yeah, I think that right now, so far, and we're recording this on Wednesday morning, I believe maybe even as early as Thursday, we'll have the full schedule for the NBA season out there. But what we do know already, what Shams Charania has reported at The Athletic, is that the Timberwolves are going to be a part of the opening night festivities, the first night of the season, when they play at the Los Angeles Lakers. That's a marquee matchup as the kind of the nightcap for a 3-game slate. And then we also do know already that they are going to play on Christmas Day in Dallas at 1:30 p.m. As part of that slate of games. And so what this tells us is that this team, the success that they had last season in the playoffs, Anthony Edwards' marketability, is stepping out of the shadows. They are, last year when they released the schedule, the Wolves had 5 national TV games on the schedule for the entire season. That was fewer than the Thunder. That was fewer than a bunch of teams that you would not expect that to be the case. This year, they are going to be on national TV a lot. They are going to be in the spotlight a lot. And a lot of that obviously is due to Anthony Edwards' rise. I think that the machine around the NBA is trying to identify who is going to take the mantle from LeBron, from Steph, from KD, and Ant is front and center in the league's plans for that to happen. And so they are going to start introducing him to the national audience more and more. And so when that schedule comes up and is announced, you are going to see a lot of national television games for these Wolves. Probably going to be some late starts at home, I'm guessing, just to kind of accommodate those the time slots and things like that. But for fans who are perpetually frustrated about when are people going to pay attention to us, when is the rest of the league going to give us some shine? Well, it's coming. Like now, this team is a fashionable team, is a cool team, and you're going to see Anthony Edwards in just a lot of big time marquee spots. And the indications are by opening night and Christmas Day, that is laying the groundwork for a full season with a lot of opportunities like this.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This is a great show for Timberwolves fans to listen to keep up with everything that's happening with the franchise. John is all over it, of course. Check out the rest of our shows, talknorth.com. We keep growing the network, and we do appreciate everyone who listens. For today, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all of our listeners. Thanks to our producers, Alex Haugen and Davide Rosso at talknorth.com. And we'll talk to you next week.